Are we live? Okay, we're live. Live then for our weekly live chat about social media. Hope you've all had a great weekend. Today, I thought we'd have a talk. I'm just checking that we're live. Yeah, we are live. So again, as usual, we're live. I'm streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. So today, I thought we'd have a quick chat about marketing to the masses or not marketing to the masses. Ultimately, a lot of people try and market to everyone. So, hi Amanda, hi Heather. Thanks for joining us. Again, as usual, feel free to chat, type me any questions. So today we're going to be looking at how we market to our ideal customer and how a lot of small businesses particularly get this wrong. I've also had some questions as well about posting content, which kind of links in, posting content on LinkedIn. Hi Amanda. And also Facebook Workplace, which I know quite a few of us have been getting some requests about the Facebook Workplace. So I'm going to be talking about those at the end of the stream. But today I wanted to talk a bit about talking to your audience. For those of you that have been on some of my courses, you will know that I am a massive advocate of identifying your ideal client. Now, social media is such a crowded space. As we all know, most businesses these days are on social media, and if they're not on social media, then they should, then it's quite rare. But because all businesses are on social media, it's really difficult. It's becoming extremely competitive to stand out from the crowd. How do you stand out from your audience? And one of the ways that a lot of businesses get this wrong is they go, wow, my product is going to appeal to anybody, to absolutely anybody. I run a gym. Anyone can come to my gym. Anyone can work out. But the trouble is that trying to market to everybody all at once in a very wide sphere is that it can be very expensive. We're not all the sort of Coca-Colas of the world that have billions of pounds worth of money to spend reaching our ideal client. So some of the most popular products and services are those that target a particular niche. So I'll be really interested to have a chat to everyone today to let me know what your niche is. Who is your ideal client, and have you narrowed it down far enough to reach that perfect client? So I'll give you an example. When I was the marketing manager at Nomad Games, and just before I went freelance, I worked at Nomad Games for the best part of 4 years. When I joined the team, they were very much, we market to the masses. Anyone can like our product. It's a tabletop game, board game. Anyone can play it. Anyone who loves board games can play it. Well, at that time, we only had about 300 followers. They'd bought 4,000 followers. And again, never ever buy followers for your Facebook page. It may make you feel like you look good, but ultimately you'll get absolutely no interaction from those robots that you've bought, and it's going to massively impact your statistics. But a lot of businesses do, because they want to see that they are being that they look popular and they've got lots of followers. So ultimately, the most important thing is to narrow down. So what I did when I joined the team, we had about 300 real followers and 3,500 bought followers on Facebook. And the Facebook pages weren't doing anything. They weren't driving any traffic to the website. They weren't doing anything. I'm just posting sales posts out that were just generic, absolutely generic. So I spent quite a bit of time narrowing down our target market. looking at the followers that we had. So if, go onto your Facebook and look at your insights, it's really important. And looked at going down all the followers that we had on our Facebook page. And ultimately what I recognised that those ones who were interacting in our feed were ultimately males. They were over 35, and they were in America, or they were Polish, because the game we were promoting at the time was called Talisman, and huge Polish following. So Polish or American, over 35. That did professionals that did gaming in their own time, that loved playing tabletop role play games. So ultimately, I then went into some of the groups where these guys hung out, and I had a look at the content that was doing really well in these groups. I had a look at the content that was doing really well on tabletop gaming, because a lot of them were into tabletop gaming. So I've ignored video games completely. Video games is hugely competitive. So I ignored video games, and we jumped into, I looked at other tabletop games, and I looked at the content that the few followers I had were following. And it was quite an eye-opener, actually, because ultimately they loved painting little miniatures. So I thought, okay, so on my audience, they like little painted miniatures. They loved seeing pictures of people, just an image of people playing a board game. So I was like, right, okay. So, and they loved sharing little tactics, little stories, little experiences, and all this content that I'd never even considered putting onto our Facebook pages. My Facebook pages were things like screenshots of the game, little commentaries, little, facts, figures about our product. But ultimately, it wasn't really driving that much traffic. So what I did was I transformed our social media pages, really, and made it, rather than video games focused, made it tabletop gaming focused. Talked about how Nomad Games were about bringing the tabletop experience to digital. But one of the things that our customers were really passionate about was making sure that tabletop games did not displace tabletop video games and board games did not displace the tabletop games, because they were avid fans. Basically, they were avid fans of the tabletop, and they'd take our video game, one, to either practice it, so when they played the real version, they had the competitive advantage, help them learn the rules, or two, they could take it away, play when they're on their travels. They didn't need to have the board game. And three, meant they could actually play with their friends and family remotely. So they were interested in the physical product, and the ultimate customer was taking that physical product and buying into that. So I had to completely do a sort of 360 on our social media pages, and I looked at developing content that was more based around the tabletop game rather than trying to tap into the video game audience. And the minute I did that, all of a sudden our reach massively increased. So I started posting content, images of people playing Talisman, the board game. Not Talisman the video game, but Talisman the board game. I started posting content like that into groups. I started talking about the rules of the game. I started encouraging them to share their experiences of the tabletop game, not necessarily the video game. And this is how I ultimately grew our channel, was by doing that research into that ideal customer, that niche customer. I went niche. I really did go Americans, focused on America, because I couldn't speak Polish, let's be honest. The Polish were following us anyway, because they were avid fans. So it's America, blokes over 35, disposable income, had a family, wanted to bring the family, playing tabletop Talisman. And they were huge fans of Games Workshop. They loved tabletop gaming, and they loved doing or anything to do with war games, Warhammer 40,000. And the minute I started pulling in the physical product, tagging in groups, but all these groups that were interested in tabletop, very, very niche tabletop games. And the minute I started pulling those groups into our Facebook and our other social media, I expanded onto Pinterest, because that I noticed some of the audience was on there. And the minute we did that, I took our 300 followers to over 20,000 followers in 3 years. And that was 20,000 in followers that were avid tabletop gamers, majority in America, over 35, men, had kids, go into lots of gaming groups, and started posting content that would appeal to that audience. And ultimately, that's how I grew the channel. All of a sudden, they were commenting on my content, they were leaving us fantastic reviews, they were buying our product, because the minute I posted anything about the digital product, they were comparing it, they were discussing it, they were talking about the differences, they were trying it, they were taking it on holiday, they were saying, wow, this is great, it's very similar. So I ultimately took a tabletop lovers and brought them into the digital space. And that, by far, just transformed our social media. So it's so important to do your research and adapt your social media pages to appeal to that niche audience. And I can't stress enough how important it is. Everyone says to me, but everyone can use my product, and that's great, but you're never going to appeal to everybody. So one post might appeal to a small percentage of your audience, whereas if you're talking about people who have got different beliefs and different experiences and things like that, then you just cannot please everybody. So that's why you need to create a niche who's going to be interested in what you do. You need to think about your audience and what service, if it's a service or a product, you need to have a think about how you're helping people to solve those problems. How are you managing to, how does your product help people? Because people are just ultimately interested in helped. They're not interested in being sold to. People get too many sales messages these days. So it's about how do you sell your product, and you sell your product by demonstrating how useful and helpful it is to your niche market. And the niche you can get, the easier it is to help those people and basically provide them a solution to their pain points or to what they're experiencing, what problems they have, and tap into those problems. Join groups where they're going to be hanging out. Have a look at what those sorts of groups are talking about, what's getting the largest amount of engagement that's relevant to your products and services, and start building that similar type of content into your social media pages. It's all about kind of doing that research. So I thought I'd be really interested in group if we kind of talk about our audience, because it can be really hard to narrow down, particularly if you've got quite a generic product. It can be really hard to narrow down a specific audience. But if you can narrow it down as small as possible, that would be great. So for example, for me, obviously I run social media support for companies. Now I can help anybody. I can help anyone that can speak English, basically, because I do a lot of coaching online. So a lot of my coaching can be done online. So it's not necessarily location restricted to location. I do a lot of Zoom training. So in theory, I could help anybody in the world. But my niche, my niche that's focused on, is looking at small businesses in Warrington, particularly looking at some started off last year, focusing on mums of a certain age who were looking to launch a business. And so what I did was I joined lots of groups that were in this area and started getting to know people. And once people started getting to know me, that's how I built up my community on my pages. Now, it's not a massive community. I never intended it to be a massive community. But ultimately, I now have an engaged community because I'm giving them content that they're interested in. And my tips, tips and help and support is kind of what I thought would be the most useful for them to begin with. But actually what I found was that actually tips aren't necessarily what they're interested in. Random tips and advice. It's actually that personal contact and being able to ask questions, knowing that I'm there to answer them. So again, as you're growing your business, you change your business and do it that way. So it's all about tapping into your niche audience and making sure that you are serving that audience, helping them, giving them content that they want, and helping to solve some problems. And we're not going to get it right in the first instance. It's all a bit about trial and error. But ultimately, if you can narrow that audience down, then that does really, really help. Because there's nothing worse than joining a group. So, for example, I was with a client this morning who does a lot of sports events. Well, I'm not interested in sport. I'm never going to be interested in sport. So I'm not going to be on this radar. I'm not interested in football. Don't talk to me about sport. The minute I see anything like that on Facebook, I scroll straight through. So again, I'm not his ideal customer. So therefore, trying to attract me by giving sports images, it's just not going to work. We're all kind of different. So it really is about tapping into what people are interested in, so that when they do see content on Facebook, they're going to stop and they're going to go, oh, that's interesting. So really, really is. Oh, hi, Wendy. Thanks for joining us. So that's a bit about making sure we define our customer audience. The biggest mistake, and what most businesses do, is appeal to the masses and really try and market to everybody. It's too expensive. You're going to get a very small community that is inactive and won't comment on your content. So you've really got to focus in on your ideal client. So if you've got an ideal client and you're not sure whether it's the right one or whether you've honed in on it enough, just leave me some comments below, and we can have a chat about it. If you're struggling with your ideal client, leave comments below, and I'm happy to answer any questions. So that's a bit about why it's so important to think about your ideal client. And then if you do look to advertise, it's much easier to bring up a profile if you're advertising on social media, because in your head who your ideal client is, who's likely to buy from you, what problems they've got that you can solve. Ultimately, as soon as you run ads, you can say, yeah, I know it's men that are 35 that are in America that love tabletop gaming, don't like AAA games, that don't like Fortnite, that don't like football games. It's you can then tap in and target your advertising to exactly your ideal client. And the minute you get into your head of your ideal client, it's so much easier. So do your research. It is so important. So a couple of questions then I've had this week from Amanda Bay, who's watching today, and who is, just to remind you all, who is still no relation of mine, as we talked about last week. We share the same name, which is rare actually, because normally when you have Bates, everyone puts an S on the end, and that is just so frustrating. We don't have an S on the end of our names. So we talked about, I know I had a question last week about when you start pulling in reviews for your social media, for your Facebook particularly. I did a bit of research on this, but Amanda fortunately fed back as well, because I was like, oh, it's a good question actually. How many reviews do you need before you get a rating on your page? The 5-star whatever rating, because I was looking, I've got some clients who got 2 reviews and got a rating, and other clients who got 6 reviews and no rating yet. Ultimately, I think, the conclusion is that it takes, it's over a period of time. It's probably about a week. I think maybe Amanda could confirm. I think it was a week from collecting a few reviews to when it went live, maybe a week or week and a half before it registered. So if you have got a new Facebook page and you've got a few reviews in the last few days and still not got a rating, don't worry, it will happen. Just give it a bit of time. And if you've not had any reviews lately, make sure you do get reviews on your social media. Really, really important, because if for any reason you ever do have a bad review, then it won't really, if you've got loads of reviews, one bad review won't really affect the rating. But if you've only got a few reviews and you get a bad review, it's massively going to affect that rating. So yeah. So Amanda said, a week. Thanks, Amanda. A week from collecting your first reviews to get that star rating. Okay. Well, the question then as well was LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, as we all know, you can post an article on LinkedIn and you can also post an actual post. So a question this week was, what's the difference and why not just write a blog and send them to the website? And why? Because you can write quite long posts in LinkedIn as opposed to as the article. So what's the difference? So the difference is that LinkedIn, if you write a post, will give you more visibility, but it will disappear after about a week down your timeline. But if you've got some really important time limited content, then absolutely write a post. You're going to get much higher reach than writing an article on LinkedIn. If you do, the beauty about writing an article on LinkedIn is ultimately that article sits under your LinkedIn profile for much longer. So it doesn't disappear over time unless you're prolifically writing a number of different articles. So you can get more content in there. You can also put a link to your website or a blog. So what I tend to do is write a blog. I don't do enough blogs, to be honest. I need to do more. But when I write a blog, I will actually take that content, summarize it, put it into a LinkedIn article, and then you can link it back through to your actual web page. And it just lives, it lives there longer. You can relate to it. It's more of a sort of general interest piece. It's probably help with tips and advice and sharing information that your followers on LinkedIn might find useful. But you will find that it won't get as much reach as a post. So if you do a long form post without a link in, you're going to get more visibility than writing an article at the moment. But the articles do sit under your profile for that little bit longer. So I'd suggest if you're creating content, then do copy some of that content, put it into article. You can put links in there, you can tag people in, you can put nice pictures in there. So that's generally the difference between a LinkedIn article and as opposed to a post. I would say articles do one. Depends how often you're writing blogs and information really, but certainly one a month is useful. Just to keep it relevant. It helps as well as an influencer because people can look through your posts, but they don't necessarily. You can be posting about anything. Whereas if you're an influencer, you can show and share your expertise and knowledge. So it just gives you a bit more higher profile really on there. Other question, an interesting question as well. As Facebook is always adding new features and things like that. The new one that some of you might have been asked for was if you want to join Facebook Workplace. I did a bit of research into this because it's on Facebook Workplace. This is another of their new features that they have announced. I had a quick look actually, and it's asking people to join for free. Caveat being, when I had a look, free for the first 90 days. So ultimately, this is another Facebook making a bit of money. And from what I can deduce is that ultimately this is if you have a large organization and you want to bring a number of your colleagues together to share content, to share messages, So again, it's a bit like a private Facebook group, but it's actually being developed as a business platform. So an interesting one that I'm interested to see how that is being developed. So if you have a large organization, you can invite all your colleagues into there to have a discussion. LinkedIn is Facebook is trying to, take over the world. Soon you'll be able to do everything. A bit like, I think it's MySpace in China. And where that is just one platform. China just has one social media platform and everything goes in there. Everyone just uses it. You won't get Facebook or Instagram or things like that in China because China's locked down. You can't, if you're trying to target China on your social media, don't bother. You can't. Those social media platforms aren't available. They have that one social media platform to use, which is what Facebook's trying to do. It's trying to create a one platform for all, capitalizing on the advertising, and it looks like this Facebook Workplace as well is something that they're looking at. So I would suggest for now, this is aimed at larger business, bringing people together. Not something necessarily that you need to be worried about if you're a sole trader. Again, it will be developing and it will be changing as they trial it and things like that. But Facebook Workplace for now, if you're a sole trader, I probably wouldn't bother investigating it, because no doubt if they say it's free for 90 days, you'll probably have to put your bank details in and then they'll automatically charge you. So it's about remembering to do that. So at the moment, I would stick to your groups. Stick to creating groups for your Facebook pages to bring your community together. A bit like this group, really. You're getting traction out of it in the first instance, but we'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep an eye on how that develops. So that's it for today, really. Just a reminder, I am running a Facebook workshop on Monday at LIM Business Hub. I think I have 2 places left on that course. That is 9 till 12:30 on next Monday at LIM Business Hub. It's been hosted by Colony, Kirsty James from Colony. And so again, it's aimed at Facebook business pages, how to manage your Facebook business pages, looking at some of the tools behind the scenes, some of how you optimize it, putting your keywords in the right place, making sure, having a look at your content, and the use of groups and things like that. So if you're kind of a big fan of Facebook and not sure what all the tools do and how to optimize your pages and what type of content works, then I've got a couple of places left on that. If you know of anyone, please do feel free to share it. Again, I'll put the link in the comments below so you've got that information. And next week, because I am running the course, I was thinking I'll potentially be going live from LIM Business Hub from the training course. So I think it will be live, and if I can get some of the audience to actually give me some top tips that they've learned during the day, we'll share a variety of Facebook tips that people have picked up. So I will be going live from LIM Business Hub next week. So that'll be exciting. Bit of live on tour. And then if anybody ever wants to do a joint stream on a Monday that's got useful information that they'd like to share that relates to social media, then let me know. I'm always up for doing some joint live chats. So Amanda, you write blogs. If you wanted to do a joint stream, you could give us some blog tips on this, because it's always useful for social media. So again, you don't always have to be sat watching and listening to me babbling. I'm happy for people to join us in the chat live. So again, let me know. And let me know as well what content you'd like to see. I always love questions. It helps me to think about what you guys want to listen to. So do share any questions, things you like covered in the live stream. And that's half an hour. Amanda says she'll have a think about it and get back to me. So again, watch this space. We might have guest speaker from Amanda Bate. The two Bates maybe doing a guest speaker slot. If not, we'll certainly share some tips around there. So okay, so that's today's. Hope you found it useful. Again, share in the comments below who your target audience is. Let's see if we can help each other narrow it down. Everyone in this group is going to have lots of great ideas. So again, let's share them. It's this group is here to help you. And my 20-minute slot has been babbling on for half an hour now. So I'm going to finish there. And I will look forward to seeing you live on next Monday from LIM Business Hub. In the meantime, please share any questions in the group. Ask me any questions. Share anything that's worked really well, anything you're puzzled about, anything that's not working so well anymore. Share it. Always to find out what's working for everybody at the moment. Anything you're stuck on, just put it in the group. For those that are watching on YouTube, this is the Facebook group. So again, jump onto my Facebook page, Social Media Executive on Facebook, and post some comments on my community wall. I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions. So I will see you all next week. Thanks for listening, guys. See you later. Bye.